Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm chatting with John Proust from Japan Gold. In today's interview, we discuss the price of gold and how sentiment is driving the current bull market, as well as Japan Gold's current drill program, the mines that they've added and why they added them, and what investors should expect out of the remainder of the year. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. John, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, good to see you, Steve. Good to see you.
So let's start off talking about what's been happening with the price of gold. It looked there about a week ago like things were finally starting to pull back, and the bull run might be over. And now we're sitting at the time of filming, pushing the $3,400 mark, give or take. I'm curious. You are the CEO of a gold company. I assume that you follow the gold market at least somewhat. When you think about what's happening with the price of gold, what's going through your head right now?
Well, Steve, I hate to be a naysayer or a doomsayer, but every morning we get up and from all the social media and all the various influences that come at us, we talk about all the instability and the negative stories, and and we look at this chaotic world. And at the time of filming this interview, it's the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb in Japan, which kind of ties into where we're at. So there's a very somber tone in Japan right now because of the heightened instability in the world now. And so you've got people that are in their 80s and 90s that are looking at, um, what the tragic events unfolded way back then, but then they're comparing it to where we are in the world right now. So on the one hand, I want gold to go as high as absolutely possible, but so much of it is driven by this instability. And again, we feel it in Japan just because of that important anniversary. So so look, I think gold has got a ways to go because I don't think we're sorting any of these challenges out soon. So I think we're going to see higher prices of gold. And the good news that I'm seeing is that while costs have constantly increased over the last number of years, gold is now starting to outpace the increase in costs. So we're seeing a larger delta. And the assets that, of course, we're looking at, which are high-grade gold opportunities in Japan, are my favorite type of gold asset because they've got the biggest delta as opposed to low-grade opportunities that are just large tonnage, earth-moving exercises. So it just becomes more and more profitable. And then you stack on top of that the unique opportunity in Japan to deliver silica-rich ore to the smelters that exist in Japan, lowering your all-in sustaining costs and putting you in the lowest quartile of all global producers. All these things bode very well for Japan Gold, but it's with a bit of a somber overtone that I've got here today.
I was just on a field visit with there's a couple analysts that we were hanging out with for a few days, and I actually mentioned you guys to him, and he was unfamiliar with the story, but one of the first things he actually said to me was that there's all of these smelters in Japan. What can you tell us about that? Does that create a little bit of an advantage if you guys find something?
It's a fantastic and unique advantage. So going back from a historical standpoint, after the Second World War and after the gold mines had been closed, um, the government incented the mining companies to go abroad and bring concentrates, natural resources back to Japan to rebuild. And so Japan was really smart. They thought, if we can get concentrates from other countries like Canada, like countries in South America, etc., if we build smelters, then we can get those materials, and Japan can benefit from that. So there's currently 5 major copper smelters in Japan, and they're owned by the biggest Japanese companies that you're familiar with, Sumitomo, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, JX Nippon, or JX Metals. So there's a variety of companies that own those. And then there's a number of other smelters that are focused on other commodities as well. All of those smelters require a specific ingredient called flux. And flux, another name for that, is just silica or quartz. And so the unique connection between what we're doing is that we are focused on finding quartz veins in Japan that have high grade gold in them. And that quartz is the host, and it's really the waste rock if you think about it. But what we can do is we can take that whole ore and deliver it directly to the smelters so that the smelters have the benefit of the silica, which is of value to them as flux, and they can stream off the gold while they're going through the process to, refine the copper. And so what it does is it means that we don't have to build the infrastructure. We don't have to have the capital expenditure to build large infrastructure to process the ore that we will bring out of mines. We can just directly to ship it to the smelters. Very unique opportunity. And so the comparison I like to use is the global all-in average, all-in sustaining cost appears to be about $1,550. And you certainly see it a lot higher than that at Hishikari, the only gold mine producing in Japan today, and one of the highest grade tier one gold mines in the world. It's a 14 million ounce ore body that's producing gold at in excess of 30 grams per ton. They do just that. They produce this vein material from fairly shallow depths, deliver it directly to the Sumitomo smelter, Sumitomo being the owner, and their all-in sustaining cost is about $500 an ounce. So they have this incredible profit margin, and that's what we aspire to as well in Japan.
So let's get into Japan Gold. We last sat down in mid-February, and in the time since, you guys have launched two drill programs as part of your alliance with Barrick. What can you tell us?
Yeah, really interesting. Barrick, of course, as you know, went through a screening of our projects across Japan, and they ultimately selected three projects that they felt had the potential to host at least one or more tier one or tier two ore bodies. Tier one being 5 million ounces or greater, tier two being 3 million ounces or greater. The first project that we drilled this year was up in the northern island of Hokkaido. And again, this won't be surprising. It was directly adjacent to the second largest past producing mine in Japan, the Kanamai mine, which was also incidentally owned by Sumitomo Metal Mining, the same owners as the Hishikari gold mine. What we hope that we've identified is an extension of that vein system that they were mining at the Kanamai mine, south of the Kanamai mine, where previously it had been very dense area. There hadn't been roads through this area. There was, dense foliage, et cetera, et cetera. And a fairly new road that came through exposed what we think might be the extension to that mine. So we went into that area. Now, again, there's what would a junior company do in that area and what would a major do in that area? And so under our Barrick Alliance, with Barrick, we did, mapping, geochemistry, geophysics. We had got the drones in the air and did a big drone survey. We identified a 5 kilometer long corridor, and Barrick went to the very northeast corner, and we just drilled on the margin to see if there was indeed the kind of mineralization we were seeking there. We drilled 3 holes. One of them just went through that margin and went out of the system. The other two went into the system and demonstrated that there was gold there as well. And then we got a particularly high grade intersection of over 24 grams per ton. And that high grade intersection demonstrated to us that there was um, a formation within that trend that was carrying high grade gold. So the next logical step for us now is to do a detailed geophysical survey of that 5 kilometer long trend and identify where that high grade horizon sits throughout the trend, and then go back with very targeted drilling in our next drill program. So, check, found a system, found high grade gold, and we're designing what we're going to do next. And we'll be in country with Barrick twice in August, actually, just in about a week, and then in the last week of August as well. So we're gathering there because of the activity that we've had. The second one is really exciting. It's called the Abino Project. It's all the way in the southern end of Japan. So we've gone from Hokkaido in the north to Kyushu Island in the south. And it's a project that's directly north of the Hishikari gold mine that I spoke about, the 14 million ounce ore body where Sumitomo's already mined over 9 million ounces at in excess of 30 grams per ton. We went in and did significant work with Barrick there. Again, the mapping, the geology, the geophysics, etc. And we identified that in this area, it was unique because I just spoke to you about Hokkaido, and this is a vein system. So veins are poking out of the ground. They're identifiable. You can follow them. In southern Japan, there's been a lot of volcanic activity. And so there's a thin veneer of volcanic ash that sits over the landscape and obscures anything poking out of the ground. And so the Hishikari gold mine was the first gold mine in Japan that was a blind or a concealed discovery or an ore body. And it was accidentally discovered by a scientific drill hole that happened to tag the Hishikari vein system. So what we've done is we've gone in with sophisticated technology and new models. We've looked at the subtle geochemical fingerprint across the Hishikari mine. And then we've looked at this Abino project directly next door and said, can we find that same subtle geochemical fingerprint? And we found it there. And we found two specific prospects. We've put two drill holes into two targets at one. We put another drill hole into another target. That drill core is off in the lab now. And we're expecting in the next few weeks to start getting those drill results back. So we're quite excited about that. We love the location. We love the setting. And again, to be right next door to one of the highest grade tier one gold mines in the world is just an extraordinary opportunity. So we're very keen.
Do you have any sense of what the dominant asset's going to be under the joint venture?
That project, the Abino project that I just spoke about,
Yeah.
because it's a
Okay.
corridor that runs a number of kilometers. We've identified two um, uh, two prospects already on their project. There's a third one that we know is there that we haven't even got to yet. And then in that same corridor, just off their project, we've now identified a large one on our own 100% held ground outside the Barrick Alliance. So we've got a whole corridor there, which could really light up that district in addition to the Hishikari mine. And funnily enough, it's a parallel trend to the Hishikari mine and two other historic mines that all line up on exactly that same trend. This is just a parallel trend to that. So it's got all the earmarks of something that's very compelling.
So what does exploration currently look like outside of the alliance with Barrick?
Yeah, so outside the alliance with Barrick, about a year and a half ago, Fraser McCorkadale joined us, and he's our senior technical advisor. Fraser was the head of global exploration for Newcrest, and had looked extensively at Japan when we had our competition a number of years ago to bring in a partner, which was ultimately Barrick. And so he has been very focused in this area around the Hishikari mine and identified what his favorite project was. Um, so that's the project that we're going to be drilling in, I'd expect the first or second week of September. So we've got the Barrick results coming in August, starting to drill our own project, the Mizobe project, in September. A little bit of history about the Mizobe project. It was under the Barrick Alliance. However, Barrick changed their technical team to a new technical team with a different focus, and their focus became the Abino project that I just described to you. So they ultimately gave up the Mizobe project, which happened to be Fraser McCorkadale's favorite project. So that's the one that we're going to be drilling at immediately after the Barrick Alliance results come out. We'll be drilling in September. So that's the first thing. We'll be drilling at least 2 to 3 holes to start, and then in October or November, I expect we'll drill another 2 or 3 holes to really start to unpack this Mizobe project and get a real good understanding. The earlier work that Barrick did really told us that we were high in the system and that our drill holes needed to go deeper. We found not only high-grade veins, albeit narrow ones, in the shallow drilling we did, but we also found that the host rock, in this case, it was breccia, the breccia, which looked kind of nondescript and really uninteresting, um, it was carrying gold as well. Low-grade gold just below a gram, but over big intersections of over 100 meters. So that's something we really need to follow up on. All the clues are sort of saying drill a little bit deeper to try and find the source of that gold that's in the breccias and in the veins. So that's the first piece. The second piece is that under our new vice president of exploration that I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, um, we have a new pipeline that's coming together of continuous projects that are gonna go forward after that. And so really what we're doing is we're building out with our technical team a pipeline of projects, of our own projects, that starts with Mizobe in September and continues right on through the end of the year and into 2026.
So you mentioned your new VP of exploration, Jason Lehto. What can you tell us?
Yeah. So we're we're very fortunate, and sometimes in our industry, it's about luck and timing. And so with Fraser McCorkadale's leadership in targeting and his senior technical advisory role, we wanted to bring in those young legs that had extensive experience, um, that were across all the latest technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's different technical analysis suites, etc., to really unpack what it is that we have now in our portfolio. And so we put out a very broad search. And ultimately, the successful candidate was Jason Lehto. Jason came to us from Vale. He was with Vale for 21 years in not only precious metals, but base metals globally. And his area of expertise is near mine, district scale new discoveries. So let's just think about that. Near mine, district scale, new discoveries. If you look at where the Hishikari gold mine is, the mine that we've been speaking about, we control the whole district. We have about 84% of all prospective ground in that district, and we surround the Hishikari mine. But as I mentioned, there's a thin veneer of volcanic material that sits over that district. So you have to use the best technology, new models to try and identify the new Hishikaris that exist there. And that's Jason's area of expertise. So he has been joined at the hip with Fraser McCorkadale, looking at that whole district as one of two districts we have in Japan that are that sort of scale. When I say district, 40 kilometers north south by about 15 to 20 kilometers east west. So a big district for us. Jason is focused on setting up the prospects, the targets, and lining up our drill programs as quickly as possible to move forward. And so great to have him on board. He's our new young gun, and that's what he's focused and committed to doing.
So let's wrap it up with this. If I'm an investor watching this, or I have you guys on my watch list, and I'm trying to sort of gauge whether or not I want to put some chips on the table, as they say, what am I looking out for over the next, say, the remainder of the year? And when should I expect assays to start coming in? What does it look like?
Yeah, Steve, good question. So I mean, first of all, if you're that investor, I think you can't help but go back over the basic premise of Japan Gold. That we're in a safe geopolitical risk country, one of the safest in the world, a rich history of high grade gold mining, vastly underexplored since the Second World War, where we're the dominant player and the first mover in the country based on the change in the Mining Act that happened in 2012. We brought in some of the smartest minds in the world to look at Japan with Fraser McCorkadale, with Jason Lehto, and with Takashi Kuriyama, our chief operating officer and director, who was formerly the head of Sumitomo Metal Mining's global exploration group. So all these minds are focused on making the next big discoveries in Japan. So we check all those boxes. We're at a historic low in terms of our share trading price because of junior gold explorers being somewhat out of favor relative to the overall market. What we've got coming up right now is in the next few weeks, and I'm going to say before the end of August, we'll have at least the drilling results out of the first um, targets at the Abino project directly north of the Hishikari mine, and perhaps even all the targets there. So we have to see how quickly the turnaround's coming in our assays, but we're moving very quickly there to get the gold assays out. We've got that happening. Secondly, we've got Barrick coming in twice over the next 30 days to really design what they're going to be doing next and where they're going with Japan and what kind of resources they want to commit to going forward. Then in September, we're drilling Fraser McCorkadale and Jason Lehto's best target in Japan, the Mizobe project, where we already know there's gold in the system, not only in veins, but also in the host rock. And so we'll be drilling there for probably 30 to 45 days. And about 30 days following that, we should have our drill results out. So we're moving quickly. And then we've got a pipeline of new prospects and targets that we'll be drilling consistently through the end of the year and right into 2026. So now is a good time to get on board with us because we've had a number of years gathering information, working with our partner Barrick to screen our projects and understand more about the various projects that we've got and their potential. And now we're putting the drills to work to really uncover the new discoveries in Japan. And so it's a great time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you hopping on here. I think that, as always, I've always thought that this is one of the more interesting and exciting stories, and I think that is apparent by the fact that you've had some of the backers that you've had in this name. And I wish you guys good luck on the upcoming drill campaign. And let's circle back once these results start to come in.
Sounds great, Steve. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you about those results as soon as they come forward. Thanks for the interview today. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, guys, we are in earnings season, so if you want more mining content, check out our YouTube channel. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.